If you're a business owner and you use timesheets in your business to calculate your invoicing on your quotations, etc., I want to help you understand what the three big lies that sit within timesheets are. And I've got this from 35 years of running my own business, but also 35 years of helping other business owners make more money and have an easier life. I do that through coaching, mentoring, and some accountancy work. And this is what I've been doing all my career, working with family-run businesses, often husbands and wife running business with a small team of people, and a lot of people in the creative world. And one way to capture the time that people put into jobs is to have some sort of time recording system. And the way that we use those time recording systems is actually important, but there are different ways around it. But today I want to cover what the three big lies are about the timesheets. Now, the first lie, of course, is the good old-fashioned fudging it. We're going to fudge our timesheet. Now, that can be at two levels. We can fudge our timesheet from a simple aspect of, and this is something that I've done in the past a lot. I don't actually keep timesheets anymore, but I'll come to that later on. But I used to sit there and sit to myself, right, I've got to do my timesheet. And I go, oh, I didn't do it yesterday either. Oh, and I haven't done it for today. And I'd look back through what I've been doing. I'd look back across the time and I'd think, what the hell have I been doing? I can't make the hours add up. I've got gaps of time missing where I've got nothing chargeable. And I've got this constant pressure of I've got to have a percentage chargeable versus non-chargeable, and non-chargeable is a criminal offence, of course. And then you figure out where you're going to put the difference, because there'll be a difference. And some of that is genuine lost time. You got interrupted, you got caught making a coffee, and you got chatting, you got, as it is now, scrolling on your phone, whatever, you got completely distracted. But there is also an element of that where you may not have spent 2 hours on the job, but you probably were thinking about it. And therefore you justify it and go, well, okay, I did an hour on the job, but I know I went and got a coffee and I did this, and then I went down the corridor and I did that. And I was in the car driving and I was thinking about it. So do you know what? I'm going to have some of that time and I'm going to make up the time. Great. Okay. But it's still a lie because it's not exactly the time that you did on the job. Versus the other one, which is much more deliberate, and deliberate from a positive point of view and deliberate from a negative point of view. The positive element is, I'm an employee, you've given me this job to do, and you've said, get that job done, I want it finished, and when it's done, you can go home, and it's got to be done today because it's got to be in the post tonight, we've got to get it out. Right, and I get on and do the job. And it's budgeted to take me 6 hours, and I've got it done in 5. I've delivered to the standard required, I've done a perfect job, and I've shipped it out, and I'm sitting back in my chair going, boshed it, worked hard today, I'm going home. And you've gained yourself an hour back of your time, which is your reward for doing a really great job. That's a management problem to work out how you're going to manage that, but essentially that can be done. Now, that employee might not even tell you that. You might have done that yourself. Does it matter? Well, these are questions to consider. And then, of course, the other part of the bad side of that is somebody who actually is deliberately fudging their timesheets. I had a client come in the other day and he had somebody working out in the fields and they gave him a job to do for the day. He went out there at sort of 3 o'clock in the afternoon to sort of help him pack up and finish. And the guy hadn't even started. Okay, and what it transpired is the guy was sitting on his phone all day and he wasn't actually doing any work, you know. So that side of things. And sometimes timesheets are used as a bit of a whipping stick to get people to do work because, of course, there is some sort of measure of effort over it. So that's lie number one. And that's often where people sit within the timesheets. It's just a case of, I need you as an employee to do the work. I don't trust you to do it. I don't trust you to do it, so I want to make sure that you do it so I can capture that time. But of course, that's not really what a timesheet is all about. The second lie about timesheets is the rate. And the rate that we charge on our timesheets. Now, this is a confusing one because you might be tasked with doing different types of work. You might be doing some design, or in my world, I might have been preparing a set of accounts and doing some tax computations, right? So you're doing the job that you do and you record the time that it takes to do that job. But then also part of your job is to do some perhaps lower level stuff. So in my case, it might have been actually to input some data or do some filing or actually just gather up the information that I'm doing and deliver it to the post office or do some admin or sit and do some printing and stuff. Now, of course, it would be in a ideal world that you'd employ certain people to do certain tasks that are below your pay grade. But it doesn't matter whatever your pay grade is, even if you've got it well organised, your pay grade is your pay grade for the work that you do. But in there will be stuff that you shouldn't be doing, and maybe even stuff that is above your pay grade that you'll be doing because you're learning and progressing your career. So there's never an exact science about the rate. And therefore, it can be a little bit distracting if you're using the data to say, well, okay, the chap down there has been doing all this work and he's put so many hours in and he's gone over budget. Or why has he gone over budget? Well, he's doing the wrong type of work maybe for his pay grade. Equally, as a team member improves over time, and hopefully you've got people working for you for a long period of time because you're building good relationships with them, but they start off at a particular rate doing a job that they can do, and it works for a while. And of course, then what happens? They get better at what they're doing. And it doesn't always mean that they get faster, but they get better, so you get a better result. And therefore, the quality of what goes out from this person goes up, but their rate might be the same. Never mind the fact, and this is something that happened to me a lot over the years, is that a client would come to me and go, I've got this particular issue, and I go, great, well, we can sort this issue for you, we can do this, we can perhaps save you some tax, or we can reorganize something over here, or we can restructure something over here. And in the first few times that I did those types of jobs, they might have taken me several days, several weeks to do the job because of the research needed to make sure that I've got it done really well. Then a year later, somebody else comes in and asks exactly the same question. Can we do this? And a perfect example would be a tax saving. I could spend 2 days doing some tax calculations and some tax planning and save somebody £50,000 for 2 days' work. I could charge them £10,000 for that. They get 50, I get 10, everybody wins. The next job comes in, it just happens to be the same job. But because I've done that job before for somebody else, I know how to do it. I can do it a lot faster. Instead of taking 2 days, it takes me 2 hours. Do I still charge £10,000? I think so, yes. But that represents the second lie. It's the rate that we charge and the amount that we charge for the time. So the balance is we've got time to put in, but we've also got an amount to charge. And those two items alone, and I'll come to the third one in a minute, but those two items alone are all around the value that you're placing on time. You as the business owner are deciding that we've got these people and we're going to have a charge out rate of, we're going to base our fees on this rate. Therefore, we can say at the quotation end, when somebody says, hey, can you do a job for me? You go, yeah, I think it's going to take X number of days and I'm going to need X number of people, multiply number of days by number of people and go, yeah, that's about right. And then that number feels right because it's based on a bunch of previous jobs that you've done. And what can happen with that is it gives you a glass ceiling, because when I see data and accounts information for businesses, I think to myself, well, you've got a team of people and you've got sales, but your team of people and your sales is pretty much the same every year. Are you as a team not getting better? Are you as a team not being more efficient with your time? Are you as a team not just actually providing a higher quality service? And therefore, if nothing else changed, the sales would go up, even if it had the same amount of customers, because you would be able to charge more based on the information you have about your timesheets. So those are the first two lies that I hope are making you think. Now, the third one segues nicely into that, and that is the data. And I did this little doodle on the board just to show you the principle of this and help you understand why it's important that we use this data. Because at the beginning, you're presented with an opportunity to quote or do an estimate or put a price in for your prospective client who said, hey, can you do this job for me? And you go, yeah. How much? Okay, they need to know how much. Now, a lot of people use the language quotes and estimates. I learned many years ago to call them action plans. Now, the reason I call them action plans is that there's a psychological step to this, and that is that, hey, can you do this job for me? Yeah, what you need is an action plan, meaning I'm going to get the job anyway. And therefore, you need to know what we need to do next. So we need to do this bit next, then this bit, then this bit. And the first thing you need to do is pay me. And the amount you need to pay me is this. And then we can do the job. And so it's a subtle but important framework to help you understand how to frame your quotes and estimates. Action plans is a really good way of doing that. Now, you present your action plan and your client says, yes, great. You then deliver the service, represented by my delivery van. Okay, whatever service or product it is, you deliver your service. And you need a team of people to help you deliver that service. Now, you could also be included in that team as the principal of the business, and that's also okay. But here we're now going to start gathering from everybody's timesheets in whatever system you're doing. Technology's around. By all means, use an app, and technology has got to be the right way forward, hasn't it? And we take all those individual timesheets and we put them into basically a database. We've got a collection of information that you now understand. Now, in the old days, we used to do like a spreadsheet, but obviously, again, you've got really great tools now where you can pull this data out. So you now have information about client A, client B, client C, etc. So you can break it down into individuals, you can break it down into team members, you can see performance information, etc. You should be able to get all that information out. But here's what often gets missed. And I say this with confidence because I've been doing this for 35 years, helping lots of business owners. And when I ask these questions, they go, oh, don't do that. Come on, this is what we can do, is we take this data here and we ask ourselves the question. I'm going to link it up this way with a blue one. We link it up this way and we go, right, does this information between what we said at the beginning, how does it correlate with the information for this particular job? This job is the one we're doing. All of the time I've gathered from all of the people is now in this report. How does that information look between those two pieces of information? Because this is going to create our invoice. Now, the smart ones of you will say, well, actually, what we managed to do is create some extras. Okay? Or variations, whatever. You've got different information that when you quoted the job in your action plan, you said, well, there's some variables that we don't know about until we get through the job. And when we do, we'll add that to it. Or if you ask us to do anything extra along the way, we'll log the time and we'll get you to do that. Now, some businesses actually make all their money on these extras and they have a system in place to get people to sign that off as they go. Good principles, good practices, good standard operating procedures to do that. But this information that goes into this invoice up here doesn't always get matched to the actual time that happened. Now, why does that matter? Well, that matters for lots of reasons. One, you're challenging the efficiency of how you go about things. You might discover that your van's got a bit of a flat tire. The process that you do to do your job has some problems. Well, let's get that information into your timesheet. For example, if you use a bit of software to do your job and your team are annotating in their timesheet that they are wasting time while they're waiting for the machines to do their thing, or they're waiting for the software to perform, or they're having to go about something in a weird way to make something work. Well, maybe we need a bit of a software upgrade. Maybe we need to think about new technology. And of course, now we've got things like AI and stuff like that. Maybe we need just to invest some time and energy to figure out how we can make this van go faster. Because if we can make the van go faster, everybody's happy and we get less non-chargeable time or less lies. I spent 3 hours doing this job. No, you didn't. You spent 2. You wasted an hour because you waited for technology. You couldn't do it because your computer was doing something, or you were doing something, your computer was really slow, but it made the job really slow. Okay, that's just an idea. Okay, so this information down here feeds back into the efficiency of your system, but it also feeds back, really feeds back into the next job that you win. Back here, I said, got clients who have a team of people and they're doing a pile of work. And for the last 3 or 4 years, sales have been pretty level. Even with the same amount of customers, the same type of work, sales should go up because you're more efficient. Sales should go up because you've got better as a team. You've performed better. If you're looking after your team and you're looking after your time, you should be getting better. The whole thing should be getting better. And if they're not getting better, what happens is the pricing element of it over here actually goes backwards and you can't see it. Because you say, oh, that job we quoted was £50,000, £10,000, and I've done 5 of those in the last few years, and that's about right, about £50,000. Now, you might have an inflationary increase, but because of all the efficiencies, that job should have gone up by another 20%, another 30% on top of the inflationary increases. And that presents you as a business owner with a dilemma, because what do you mean? The data's telling me I really need to put my prices up, but now I've got to present this action plan and they might say no because it's more expensive. So these are the challenges that we have. So the data comparison is really important. If you've got any questions about this, if you've got any thoughts about this, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, here to help. See you soon.